Everybody appreciates not having to deal with gas and smelling like gas. There is frustration when a human forgets to charge the battery overnight or stuff like that. There's also frustration when our batteries are dead and they're not charging anymore. But overall, they like it.
I'd say we're probably the latest to the party of the three on the call today, but we've certainly been on the journey for years and years now, but not near as long as Annie. But a lot of it comes from, regulation, legislation coming up the pipe. Usually what's happening in California starts to happen in Oregon, and then it comes up to Seattle and kind of that chain reaction.
And then by 2024, we became 100% all electric for our landscape maintenance division. I bust out an electric chainsaw, but that's only for the supervisors. When there's a falling branch, they can just chop it up without having to carry a mix in their trucks. But everything else is for our landscape maintenance division is electric.
You're listening to Landscape Business Growth Lab podcast. I'm your host, Ron McCabe, founder of Everbearing Services. On this podcast, I uncover the landscaping and outdoor living industry's best kept secrets. You'll hear exclusive interviews with industry innovators, discover cutting edge strategies from the fastest growing businesses in the green space. We're also going to explore game changing technologies that are at the tip of the shears. This is where seasoned landscapers and those who are just breaking ground in the industry grow together. Let's roll out the green carpet. Thanks for listening. This is the Landscape Business Growth Lab, the show for landscapers who are done guessing and ready to grow. I'm Ron McCabe. Today, we're joined by Annie Bamberger of Annie Bam Landscape Solutions in Oregon, Ryan Malone of Malone's Landscape in Washington, and Armando of Enviro Views, Inc., a Bay Area commercial landscape maintenance company that has already implemented zero-emission landscape maintenance services in the field. We're talking about the shift towards battery-powered landscape equipment, how blower restrictions are affecting the industry, and what implementation really looks like for owners, crews, and clients and property managers. To start, I'd love for each of you to briefly introduce yourselves. Tell us about your company and share the type of landscape work you do. Armando?
I'm Armando Vega. I'm with Enviro Views, a landscape company in Northern California, serving the Bay Area. And thank you for having us here.
No worries. No worries. Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan Malone with Malone's Landscape up here in Seattle, Washington. We do everything from commercial landscape management all the way to residential high-end design build.
Cool. So you guys are really established and growing, right?
Yes, sir. Been around for 35 plus years.
Wow. Annie?
I'm Annie Bamberger, owner of Annie Bam Landscape Solutions. We are on design, build, and then we do fine gardening for our clients. And we've been doing this for 14 years, and we design dynamic, eco-sensitive landscapes, and we maintain them in organic, sustainable approaches too. I want to make it clear, we do not mow and blow because I think that's an important part of what we're talking about today.
Okay. So let's kind of start the conversation itself. What pushed you all to begin moving towards battery-powered or electric equipment? What did the first phase of that conversion actually look like? And Annie, since you kind of started, you kind of did this early on, can you talk about that experience?
Sure. So when I started my company, I did not want to use gas blowers because I don't like the smell of them. I don't like gas dripping on my back, let alone any of my employees' backs. That can happen with blowers. And when I started, only battery-powered blowers were out there. And so that was the only product to buy. The string trimmers, the head shears, none of that was available at that time. So
when was that?
That was 2013. And so
Oh, wow.
I don't even remember the first company that I bought. I think it started with an S, and you could only buy it I think I bought it at Horizon Irrigation. And we don't use electric equipment a lot. A lot of our maintenance, because it's fine gardening, is more manual. We do use head shears to like be efficient with cutting back perennials and such, but we don't like head shear huge hedges all day long or anything like that. So our application of battery powered equipment is maybe a little less than my colleagues here. But yeah, so we only got one choice when we first started, and definitely excited to see all the different products that are out there, even to hand pruners that are battery powered that help my crew that when we're doing aesthetic pruning so that their hands get some protection from overuse.
Cool. Cool. So you've seen a lot of change and
A
improvement
lot of
over
change.
time. I'm assuming it's like a way better now.
I think there are still the repetitive problems of charging systems not always being able to connect to the batteries after a year or two. That's still common. There are some product lines that are better than others and last longer. The recycling issue of the batteries is still a huge problem. And if you're in the Portland and metro area, you hear me talk about that often because that's a missing link to making this a really sustainable, successful product line to use.
Cool. Cool. So Ryan, what pushed Malone's and your company to move towards electric and how did that go for you when you converted? You know, what did your first setup include?
Yeah, for sure. I'd say we're probably the latest to the party of the three on the call today, but we've certainly been on the journey for years and years now, but not near as long as Annie. But a lot of it comes from, regulation, legislation coming up the pipe. Usually what's happening in California starts to happen in Oregon, and then it comes up to Seattle and kind of that chain reaction. And so everything that we're doing is, preventative and trying to be ahead of the curve. But we've also had a ton of interest from clients and our staff. So again, the backpack blowers are just incredibly loud and the guys hate them. Everyone hates them. I mean, it's just tough. So battery has certainly come a long way, and I think it's a lot closer than ever to being fully rolled out. So, but we've started, all the way from the Home Depot special. That's like the first lines of battery powered stuff. I think it was like Ego at one point, and now we've graduated from Ego to Steel to now Crest, and Crest has been amazing. They've kind of really jumped onto the scene in the last couple of years and kind of disrupted that market. So they've been awesome so far. So we've got about, I want to say 6 or 7 crews fully on battery now, and they work mostly in the urban high-rise, mid-rise properties right now.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, and Armando, it'd be good to know kind of what drove your company towards converting. And one thing I thought was really interesting is your first setup. Maybe talk about what did the first setup include and which, kind of what did you convert first and why?
Okay, sure. I bought a full set of equipment in December of 2020. This is right after COVID. We're still in COVID. And I basically looked at our gas powered equipment trailers and said, okay, I want everything that's in that trailer to be electric and get the electric version. So I went to a local store, not that far from where we're at, in Silicon Valley. And lo and behold, I fell in love with the store. I probably spent an hour talking to the rep, and they asked me, what is it that you need? What are your current needs right now? I said, well, I have all this equipment in gas power, like the echo blowers, all the mowers, and that sort of thing. And so he showed me the batteries that will make it for an 8-hour workday with one charge. And so I said, okay. I added it up, including the trailer, a power manager, let me see, 2 handheld blowers, a string trimmer, and it came out to $30,000. Yeah. We are a family-owned business, and we service homeowner associations in the Bay Area. So that's 99% of our business. And that was in December. In January, 2021 and January 15th, we launched our first conversion on the field. And we had customers calling me, hey, are you guys here today? Because I'm not hearing the blowers. Look outside. We're parked right in front of your home. So it's just that he couldn't hear the leaf blowers anymore. And that was how we were able to eliminate the noise complaint 100%. No mass complaints from from the managers. So, but yeah, it was a transition that we went not just with equipment, but also mentally for our employees. I used to have this thing we call it the love affair with the leaf blowers. You know, with the gas power leaf blower, okay, after trimming, instead of using the rake to shake off the trimmings on top of the shrubs, underneath the shrubs, they want to use the blowers. I said, well, we're gonna get rid of that, and we're gonna go old school. We're gonna go with the rake the trimmings, rake the heavy stuff, and then the leaf blowers. That was the biggest challenge. The string trimmers, the hedge trimmers, the walk behind mowers, all electric, it was a hit. The guys loved it. Instead of pulling on the cord, they just push a button, boop, off they go. So I looked at our landscape trailers, the gas powered ones, and I said, okay, I'm gonna need to get this organized so they're not, stepping over this tool. So I made it on purpose. The way we have our trailers is basically staged for the workday. We doubled in size from 2020 to 2023. We were growing really fast. And then we learned about this law that's coming into effect that was signed in 2020. I forgot what date it was, but it was the ban of gas-powered equipment in California, the sale of it. And we were already ahead of that curve. We didn't know that was going to be the law.
So it was like an easier transition for you guys. Cool. Well, and that kind of leads into I've got like 4 kind of core questions. When I researched this, there's a lot of fear out there. I mean, a lot of people are concerned about the conversion and how it's going to go. So I'm hoping you guys can all kind of comment in your own way on this. So when you were making your first purchases, how did you decide between buying more tools, buying extra batteries, and investing in charging infrastructure? Ryan, do you want to kind of talk about that?
Sure. I mean, ours has just been trial and error, and a lot of it's just seeing what works and what doesn't work and getting feedback from the guys in the field. And obviously we've landed where we've landed now, and it's been great. So last year was our first year with the Crest battery equipment, and they've got awesome support, awesome infrastructure for charging, and kind of that's where we landed. But it took a lot of trial and error.
Yeah. And so kind of on the Crest equipment, is it 100% Crest and batteries, or did you infrastructure to support that?
Yeah, all 100% what Crest has been able to provide us.
Okay, cool. Annie, do you want to kind of comment on that as far as, kind of making those first purchases? I think you already did a little bit, but between, kind of buying more tools or extra batteries.
Since we do everything sustainably and organically and not in a greenwashed way, that was, going electric was an obvious way to go. And my company does only residential and only fine gardening. So I'm different from my colleagues here, where they are in need of more equipment than maybe what we have to use. So our cleanup is with the blower. And it's very specific to hardscapes. We do not blow in beds. We do not, even when it comes to leaf management, we may have a different approach where we leave leaves more often. So we're not blowing in beds. We're just clearing hardscapes to keep them clean and slit free from wet leaves and such. I will say, being in Portland, we have a lot of tree canopy that we do pull out a gas blower. We do have one still on staff because our batteries will burn out in 10 minutes on the turbo level. And so, of course, we rake first and do those things to get most of the mass, but sometimes we have to pull out the alternative equipment to help. And so because I was really in the technology line that's out there, we didn't have many choices. Since then, I have tried there's more choices out there, obviously. And I have some product lines that I'm kind of true to, and others I try and I end up sending them back. And so a lot of it is trial and error, or trial and fail, you know. So that's kind of how it goes.
Okay. Well, and actually, you spurred a couple random questions for me. Hopefully, that's okay.
Sure.
So, I'm kind of scared to ask this, but what is greenwashing? As far as you kind of mentioned that, but
Well, we don't have time for that answer.
okay.
It's
So we're not going to
weird.
go there. Okay.
Yeah, there's some quick things that people will say, like, we use battery powered equipment, so we're sustainable, when they're using herbicides, pesticides, or improper landscape or plant care that causes them to use fungicides and insecticides. So that's a quick and skinny answer to that. It's
Or
a
kind of
lot.
poser sustainable.
Pardon?
I was joking. I said kind of poser sustainable.
It's totally what it is. It's poser
Yeah.
sustainable. Yeah. Hmm.
So okay. So going electric doesn't mean necessarily going sustainable. That's a good point.
Batteries are not sustainable from the time they're harvested, the lithium is harvested, and the amount of electricity it uses. I mean, I feel like the bigger conversation is the paradigm shift in maintenance practices. That's what's sustainable.
Okay. Okay. One other question, and I think that was I actually had so my landscaper, of course, approaches me about questions about the laws and things like that, just because he knows I'm active. And he was really confused about in the Oregon laws, it allows you to use gas when the leaves are thick enough. How do you determine that? Is it just kind of a judgment call or
Okay, so there's clarification. It's not an Oregon law. It's a city of Portland only law. Okay, so let's start with that, because it is very confusing in this state. And I do track what people say on Nextdoor. Nextdoor is an app that neighbors can communicate on, and people are so out of whack at knowing where it is banned and when it's banned. So it's only the city of Portland that has banned only the blowers. You can still use gas driven chainsaws, head shears, gas powered mowers, and so it's only blowers. And it is a 3-year process to make it 100% banned. Again, only in the city of Portland, not in the county of Multnomah, which Portland is in, not in the state. They wanted the group that started this ban wanted to go statewide. And there was a lot of pushback from rural representatives where they don't even have recycling and garbage for certain normal things, I guess, normal like paper and such, let alone batteries.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of interesting for me, and I don't want to take us off topic, but Oregon, the added. So I grew up in Coos Bay, which is on the coast, and a bunch of loggers and fishermen, and they have a way. People on the coast or other parts of the state have a different point of view as far as the environment versus Portland. So I could see why that would be a problem. So hey, just moving the questions on a little bit, Armando. When you're kind of making your first purchases, how did you decide between kind of buying more tools or buying extra batteries or investing in charging infrastructure?
Yeah, so for us, we spent, I would say, like $20,000 just to get the setup of the lawnmowers. Oh, 33-inch wide. You get a 121-inch walk behind mower, two handheld blowers, two weed eater heads. Let me see, two different size hedge trimmers. And so we had one machine, mean green, a 33-inch walk behind, and that gave us 16 hours of mow time with one charge. And we also have the 3 backpack steel batteries, the I forgot the brand, AR 3000L or the 3000R. And let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I would say about 6 of the smaller cartridge batteries from steel. And that's it. That's per crew. And so I understand, Annie, with the leaf fall season, we brought out this gas power leaf vacuum. So they're out there, they just make their big pile, and we call that the leaf monster.
You guys just suck it up when it's.
Yep, suck it up and create compost with it. But we have to get rid of it really fast because we don't have clients that want to take bulk of compost. So, but that's something else down the line. But yes,
Right. We'll push
so
that problem out of this conversation.
right. So, but during the process, the vendors or different manufacturers will reach out to me and say, "Hey, Armando, we have this new lawnmower. We'd like for your feedback, and it's electric." And so we would try different brands throughout, but I still go back to my steel. The reason is service. You gotta have a service. If something breaks down, I just want to make sure that they have the parts available. But we did learn a lot. I mean, there's not that many parts. There's no, obviously, there's no carburetor, there's no spark plugs, there's no pulley, that sort of thing. So our guys are really loving that. And it reduced the maintenance costs. Apart from the fuel costs, it reduced the maintenance costs of the equipment.
Cool. So Ryan, I know you kind of head up operations at Malone's. How do your teams do it? Do you charge batteries in the field or back at the shop? Do it in the trucks or some kind of combo? What, kind of what's working for you guys in a real day to day?
It's been a little bit of a combo. So a lot of the early battery stuff just wouldn't hold a charge very long. And so we would have to have, inverter kits on the trucks that were constantly swapping out the batteries and getting a charge while they were working on the property. And so you had to have backup batteries and whatnot. And then we now have the portable charging stations that charge up overnight with Crest, and then those sit on the truck or the trailer, and they can be charging batteries all day long. And the battery life on all this equipment has gotten so much better that usually you're getting through a good day worth of work. So especially with the handheld equipment.
Oh, cool. So it's not as much of an issue as it had been in the past.
It's gone down a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is great.
Okay. And Annie, do you have any comments on that?
I mean, I don't know if our batteries are old, but we have to charge them all day long at clients' house. We use their outlets just for the blowers. So it could be that our batteries are old. And I get a little grousy that batteries are like $250 to $300 per battery for one. But
I was talking to somebody this morning that was telling me blower batteries were like $1,600.
it depends on the equipment. It could be for like big mowers. Again, we don't do that. So we're just talking about the blower is like a battery for a blower is $250.
You're primarily residential.
I'm only residential. Mhm.
That's right. So that would be a different take on things. And I have talked to other landscapers, and it is pretty common practice to use the client's outlets to charge. So that's another way to approach it. Armando, kind of what do you guys do? What's your combo?
Okay. So yeah, for us, we don't have that luxury to charge it in people's homes because most of them are HOAs.
Well, you're commercial. I mean, basically HOAs.
Yeah. So what we did is in our trailers, we have all the batteries, all the chargers inside. And then we all connect to a power manager, such as the TOA. And then we just plug in a 110 extension cord on the outside of the trailer. And then the batteries get charged overnight. In the morning, our crews, all they do is unplug the extension cord, roll it back up, and off they go to the site. And they come back to the yard at the end of the day, and they just empty their tarps and park the vehicle and plug in the 110 extension cord. We just make sure every afternoon that all the chargers are being, they do like a reset. You can see it when it's charging. And that's it. We don't charge anything out in the field. And that's the way we wanted it. But we did learn, you don't go full blast on your leaf blowers, the volume. So you keep your batteries longer, the battery life longer.
Okay. Well, and that kind of leads into the other question. And by the way, you guys are really helping out a lot. People are really concerned about these things. And so the guys that haven't done it before, their top question is kind of how many extra batteries do they realistically need to plan for? So they're not stuck mid-route. Like you've got the inverters to kind of charge things, and but you still need to have extra batteries. What does that look like? Do you want to comment on that, Armando?
Well, the first thing I would ask anybody who wants to go into electric is, okay, what are your needs right now? How many minutes do you spend mowing? How many minutes do you spend using the leaf blower? How many minutes are you, hours or whatever, are you using the hedge trimmer, the string trimmer? From that, then you're going to have that information. You can go down to your local dealer and say, look, I need enough batteries for this type of work. And that's where your partnership with your vendors is very important. And because of the cost of this type of equipment, there are incentives provided by local municipality, state, agencies. I took advantage of a couple already, and I'm taking advantage of another one where you can trade in your gas power equipment. They give you a voucher up to a certain amount, and you can use that for your electric equipment. And you can get that information as well from your vendors. They're the ones getting paid, from the voucher and, of course, the landscaper. So yeah, just do a little bit of research, talk to your local vendors. They'll be able to offset that heavy upfront cost.
Okay. Okay. Well, and Ryan, what's the situation in Washington? Do you guys have those incentives? How did you plan your deployment?
A lot of it's, based on, maximizing efficiency on a route. And so you pick up a lot of efficiencies. We've done the numbers there. And then same with the equipment downtime and need for mechanics to continue, maintenance on these things. You're constantly running into the 2-cycle problem. Someone mixed it wrong or this or that. So that's been a lot of driving force for us. There's not a ton of, things happening right now as far as laws coming down the pipe, but I'm sure there's better incentive programs out there too that we just haven't looked into. So I'm definitely going to take that page out of Armando's book and look into that. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, and Annie, have you taken advantage of incentives to deploy your stuff, or what does Oregon have?
I have not. I know the city of Portland has incentives out there for homeowners to convert. I don't know so much about for companies. Again, we don't use, I need to look into it because I need some fresh equipment, but I don't know much more about that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And again, this may be a non-question because I feel like in some ways you've all answered this, but let's just kind of dive into, as far as the battery management standpoint, kind of who's like responsible for charging, rotating, tracking, and loading the battery. It's like it, it sounds like the approach that many of you have is to just charge it all ahead of time. How do you guys deal with this? Anybody want to comment? What do your crews typically do to deal with the batteries?
it's just part of their routine ingress and egress of the day. So grabbing the stuff off the chargers in the morning, loading up, and then again unloading and making sure everything gets onto the charging port and is good to go for tomorrow. So pretty simple, straightforward.
Cool. Armando, is it similar for you?
For us, we don't unload the equipment. Everything stays in the trailers. We have full enclosed trailers, and we also have this other trailer that I developed, and it's called a hybrid trailer. So it's partially open and partially closed. That is for security reasons. So you don't have somebody, while the crew is working, somebody come and take your tools. So basically, they make sure at the end of the day that all the batteries are being charged. And then in the morning, They just unplug. But there are times, they'll be like, oh, we had a power outage. What do we do? And so luckily, we have backup tools that are fully charged, but that's rarely the case. We did learn a lot about, okay, how many amps you need per outlet. And we need 20 amps per outlet per trailer. So there's only one trailer per outlet gets charged. So we're not unloading the tools in the mornings or in the afternoons. Everything stays in there. It's just as long as the batteries are charged, connected to the charger, and the power manager does his thing. So that's it.
Cool, cool. I think for all of you, and maybe Ryan can comment, because you really didn't convert because of legislation. What are you seeing in the market when it comes to battery powered equipment? Basically, are contractors adopting it?
Yeah, no, we've seen a ton of people, slowly converting or converting all at once. There's a million different approaches, but we're definitely seeing other competitors and local landscapers in our area really embracing the battery technology and leaning into it. So I wouldn't say it's just major taking the market by storm, but there's a good handful of folks that are really investing in it.
Okay. And Annie, you're in Portland, but sometimes a little bit out, kind of what are you seeing happening in the area?
Because I was the environmental chairperson of OCA in 2018 when this conversation of developing a ban got started in Portland with a group of people that did not use landscape services, but they were starting the ban, and due to pollution is the angle they started with, and then the noise kind of overshadowed their point and where they wanted noise to be reduced. So back in 2018, a lot of my colleagues, mostly landscape contractors, they started looking into being ahead of the legislation and starting conversion. There are big companies here that were like, wow, this is going to be something. And so they started looking into investments and working with their vendors. As Armando has says, that's where it's at, is working with the vendors and getting that kind of feedback loop going. What's working? How do companies need to make technology better so it's more efficient and can run longer? I mean, it is a relationship between the end user and the vendor and companies making the technology. I saw since 2018 contractors really getting into it. There is a misnomer in Oregon that Landscape Contractors Association also includes the whole world of maintenance companies, and it does not. And there's not really a separate maintenance association here. I don't know if there is in California or Washington. A lot of getting the word out on the street to our maintenance colleagues, and a lot of them are non-English speakers. We've been trying to push information to them in a Spanish platform so they can get educated and not be caught in crosshairs of a fine or a neighbor going sideways on them because they didn't know what they should be doing. So that part is a little still to be developed, or I shouldn't say. It is being developed, but it should be amplified.
Okay. So Armando, so I think for you it's a little bit of a combo because of the time you spent doing it. But, what do you think's driving the shift most now towards like blower restrictions, noise complaints? Is it emissions, client expectations?
Well, we're in California, so yeah, there's a lot of green initiatives to conserve energy, conserve water. Also, emissions, a big push for reducing the overall emissions in California. But we did it not because of a certain ban. We did it because we wanted to be different. And I was like, okay, I embrace technology, but I just wanted to make sure that it had enough power to make sure that we did a good job. Otherwise, I mean, you can use all the electric equipment, but if you can't do your job, you're going to get fired. And so for us, it was very important that the power was there, The service was going to be there. And then once I realized that, it was just like, okay, I am going 100% in. And then by 2024, we became 100% all electric for our landscape maintenance division. And every so often, I bust out an electric chainsaw, but that's only for the supervisors when there's a falling branch. They can just chop it up without having to carry a mix in their trucks. But everything else is for our landscape maintenance division is electric, 100%. And I think that's what makes us different. But now there are some local cities within our service area that have laws in effect for banning gas power landscape equipment, not just blowers. So in our marketing, we could put, oh yeah, we're already compliant. You don't have to worry about us. Give us a shot. Let's put a bid together. And so that's kind of like I'm trying to use it to pay for the equipment.
Right, right. So, and Ryan, Seattle, as far as I know, is still kind of the Wild West. It doesn't really have anything. I know you anticipate there's some legislation coming to place, but as far as, what drove you to make that conversion?
We were just seeing, again, the efficiency hack, just the quieter noise, eliminating some of those calls that we were getting from the gas powered blowers, in particularly in the cities. And that was the leading driver. And I think we've seen that time and time again of where we're picking up efficiencies. There's no more cranking, there's no more 2-cycle, and way less maintenance. And so that's kind of continued to drive us towards implementing more and more on all of our crews. So, but yeah, it is still a little bit wild west up here.
That's cool, but so I'm hoping I can expand on this with you. I think the efficiency hack, can you kind of talk about a little more about what that is? And you just seem like the kind of guy that would kind of calculate the return and all that type of stuff.
Not as calculated as you would think. But no, I think Armando just nailed it on the head. He was, talking about you just literally grab the piece of equipment and push a button and you're off to the races. I can't tell you how many times I've been out to the field or seen a crew just struggling to get a mower or a blower or anything started, just cranking and nothing goes. And hopefully you've got a spare. With the battery equipment, I mean, it's few and far between are there days that something doesn't just, you grab it and push start and let's go. So
Cool. Well, and just, I think it's important, to retain people and you need to keep your crews happy. Are the crews liking the conversion to electric?
oh yeah, they love it. At first they were hesitant and didn't want to give up the power, but now the battery equipment has caught up with that power and we're seeing that it's, if not in line, really close to that gas power. So
Okay, cool. Well, and Annie, how about your crews and kind of how's that gone for you?
I mean, everybody appreciates not having to deal with gas and smelling like gas. I mean, that is the first thing they'll say. There is frustration when a human and forgets to charge the battery overnight or stuff like that. There's also frustration when our batteries are dead and they're not charging anymore, But overall, they like it. We, again, our maintenance practices do not include a lot of heavy equipment use. We are really excited about the battery powered Milwaukee pruner that can prune like a 2-inch branch. That's amazing because they're so clean and so quick. That is a great product that is new, that has come out, and we're super stoked about that.
Cool. And Armando, how are your crews liking the conversion to electric?
Oh, they hate it. I'm
They
kidding.
do?
No, no, they love it. They love it. They just say it's more efficient. And so, but I did tell them in advance. I said, you guys, this is the future. And I gave them a little bit of an intro. I said, look, we're all used to this gas power equipment, but this is going to come a day where this is going to be it. So we better embrace it. And I make it sound good. I said, hey guys, this is the latest and greatest. You know how when you get a new cell phone, you got all these features. Well, you're gonna get a new backpack and you're gonna get a new mower. So you better get on it out there. but they embraced it. They like it. They'll have their phone charging on the mower while they're standing, and it's got a cup holder. You know, we have a 48 zero turn steel with a phone charger in it and a cup holder, and it has LED lighting in case you're mowing the lawn at night. You know, and how cool is that? Yeah. So I don't know. I just try to make it fun, even though, you know, it's not all fun and games when they're working. And, you know, they're working in the heat, they're working in the rain, and sometimes they work in nice weather. But those batteries, the battery powered equipment, they work through the rain, they work, you know, through the heat. We just have to manage, you know, they manage the people too. You know, hey, if you get too hot, you know, cool, you know, you take more rest times or drink some water or hydrate. But that's kind of like how I approached it with them with these tools, and they love it.
Cool, cool. Well, and Ryan, so Washington's a little different because the contractors they're converting are kind of doing it ahead of the market. And and I'm a member of the Washington Association of Landscape Professionals and the community up there. And I know you guys are thick as thieves. And, you know, what are the contractors in Washington most concerned about as battery powered equipment and blower restrictions become more real?
I think it's going back to some of the topic earlier is the leaf season. It's just too wet, too rainy. The power is just not there. And like you said, you start draining those batteries super quick. And so even if we were 100% battery equipped, we would still have to break out the gas blowers in the winter, which is just the nature of the beast right now. So I think that's a big one. And then obviously is just with bigger commercial mowers comes a bigger price tag, and some of those are running upwards of the cost of a truck, right? So I think those are all valid concerns that the battery industry will have to continue to work through.
Okay. Okay. Well, and so really for all three of you, so what do contractors tend to underestimate when they do the conversion, start thinking about battery powered equipment?
Underestimate. I think it's just really about training humans. You know, if it's also about like, you know, shifting your maintenance paradigms so you're not so equipment heavy. You know, that's it. It's really getting the information to the people on the ground, the boots on the ground of what you're shifting overall when you're going to electric. Are you using less of the product, the equipment to get the job done? You can still be as efficient, you know? And so I think it's just the human based part of the nature of what we all do.
Okay. Okay.
And it includes like plugging it in at the end of the day, you know, and making sure they're doing that kind of thing.
Ryan, do you have any comments about, you know, what people might underestimate or things you might have when you did the conversion?
Nothing earth shattering. I mean, you got to kind of know your bandwidth for your electric capacity at your buildings, and that's a bigger equation that you need to calculate for as you grow that fleet of battery equipment and making sure you can charge it all up. So that's a big one.
Yeah. Well, and I think you guys have all in some ways commented on this, but Armando, you did a great way of describing the situation. You know, what happened? What habits did your crews have to unlearn when they switched away from gas blowers? If I can talk straight.
But yeah, like I said before, the love affair that we have with the leaf blower, we want to use it for everything. And I'm like, that's a no-no. They won't last if you want to use it for everything. So you can bust out the other tools, you know. So, and it was just a mind shift, a retraining, how to use the equipment properly and the care of it. The maintenance on the batteries, as far as that goes, is very minimal. I had to just show them, hey, you know, once a week, make sure the connectors on your battery are clean, on the chargers are clean from dust that's in the van. Every now and then, you know, just sweep it up or blow it inside and make sure the connectors are, you know, because during work, the connectors it have residue. So you got to make sure the connectors are clean, and that's it. But I think Well, as far as underestimating, I think it would be the power.
Okay.
The people would say, "Oh, it doesn't have enough power." I said, "Yes, it does," and I'll show you.
But you have
And
to
so that's what
change how you
happened.
do, right?
Yeah.
I do have a quick question for my colleagues. How long are you seeing batteries last?
Who is that for?
Both Armando and Ryan, how long are you seeing batteries last and how are you recycling them?
Oh, okay. Ryan, you want to go first?
We're seeing a lot of that 6 to 8 hour, depending on the piece of equipment. And obviously, the nice thing about like when you go with one vendor, a Crest, Steel, whatever, a lot of times the bigger backpack blowers will integrate with the push 21-inch mower. So if you have extra battery on your 21, now you can throw that into your backpack blower or vice versa. But most of our batteries are making it all day, with the workload that the guys have on these commercial properties. So substantial working runtime on a day. So,
I was talking more lifespan of the battery.
oh, lifespan, right. We're usually seeing anywhere from 3 to 5 years on them right now. And honestly, I don't know what we do with them. I should know.
Yeah, for us, it's about the same. 4 years per battery, backpack battery, which is really good use if you're using it every 5 days a week. I think we're getting a pretty good return for our money. We're not spending that money on fuel or oil, and especially with the gas prices nowadays. So I think we're really getting our return on investment.
Well, and I guess that kind of leads into my next question is, so what should contractors budget beyond the tool itself, including like chargers, batteries, storage, truck setup? What are the electrical upgrades needed? What does the whole system look like when you guys went this direction?
So what we're seeing right here is the robotics, the lawnmower robotics, robots, GPS-driven lawnmowers. We're also seeing battery tractors doing weed abatement on slopes. I just ran into a fellow a couple of weeks ago. We did a trade show, and that's all he does is weed abatement, hard to get places for municipalities using electrical tractors. And I was like, "Wow, that is awesome." So that's what we're seeing. And yeah, I guess it's not replacing a person. It's, like, "Oh, this robot's going to replace an employee." I said, no, you can repurpose that employee for another task. For us, the challenge, because we do a lot of homeowner associations, if we start using robotics, we have to think about security. It can be lifted up by a person and taken away, even if it's deactivated. So that's one of the roadblocks for us to going into robotic, unless you have it down where it's gated community and you can put your robot in, let it do its thing, and then you can walk away doing some hedge trimming or whatever. But we're still kind of learning about that.
Okay. Well, and all of you have talked about your vendors and how they helped you. So, what do you think contractors should be asking their vendors before they go to battery powered, blowers and batteries and chargers, mowers, etc.?
Where to recycle it when it doesn't work?
Ryan, what do you feel like you need to, just making sure you got the right equipment for the right job, that it's going to last the duration that you need.
So really kind of focusing on the equipment selection and making sure that it's going to do what it needs to do.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. Well, Armando, I know that Gardenland worked with you a lot on that selection. What did they do that was different than some of the other vendors you worked with? And what do you feel like the questions were that you asked that helped the process go forward?
Well, that's funny that you ask. My wife joined me when I first went to Gardenland, and she's like, "Whoa!" All of a sudden, it's like bromance. Me and the representative from Gardenland were just talking about electric tools. They had, "Oh, we got this, we got that," and this was on our way to our destination, which was like Santa Cruz for the weekend for the kids. And so we made an hour stop at the store. Gardenland was instrumental in sharing with me what products are working for commercial landscape contractors. And from that, we were able to, get the tools that we needed.
Okay. Okay. Well, and I think this is relevant, and I'm hoping Ryan can maybe comment on this. Is kind of how are the clients, and especially when you're in commercial HOAs and different property managers responding to the quieter battery powered equipment? Like, has it been pretty good?
Yeah, no, they're loving it. Few and far between are we hearing bad things about the battery equipment. So it's all positive. They love the noise suppression. I think one of the things that contractors might not think about is the startup cost to get battery online. So if our crew's not currently battery and they want to switch to battery, it is a heavy burden up front for the company. So you have to kind of keep that in mind when you're making the shift.
Cool. Cool. And I think this has your name written on it too. So what's the one practical step contractors should make now if they're knowing that battery powered equipment's coming or blower restrictions are coming to their market?
Yeah, I think you just got to start trying. It is trial and error, and you got to find the equipment that works best for you and your company, and find the vendor that's closest near you that can service you and really provide you the service that you're going to need as you adopt that new equipment. It's hard to do it alone, so you might as well partner with someone in the local area that has your back.
Okay. Well, that's coming out in this conversation pretty loud and clear. It's really important that you decide, select the right vendor, because it really sounds like it's pretty much a key partnership. Time to kind of wrap things up. Armando, what are the top 3 takeaways you want landscape contractors to remember from this conversation?
Okay, I would say just know what your needs are and be open to trying different methods to do landscaping. And I don't know about the third one, but have
You don't have
fun.
to have a third.
Just caring for the tools, just getting the right tools for the task. But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Ryan, what about you? What do you think the top 3 things are?
Number one, find that vendor, find that person that's going to help you, whether it's direct with the company supplying the battery equipment or a local provider. Number 2, you got to be willing to change practices and get the work done out there with different equipment. And number 3 is just be flexible with it. It still needs time to get where it needs to go to fully replace gas power. So you have to give yourself some flexibility there too. Not everything has to happen at once, and starting with one crew is a step closer to not starting at all. So
Annie, how about you? What are your 3?
Yeah, I think I'm echoing a lot what they said. I guess my one would be managing your actual practices, landscape maintenance practices, and educating the crew on alternative approaches that are as efficient as equipment. And then 2, working with a good vendor who also is going to be there for the maintenance part of it. And then 3rd, what is big for me is recycling. Where are you going to recycle those batteries or the body of the equipment if it's not working out for you?
So, Annie, Ryan, or Armando, if people want to connect with you, what's the best way to reach you?
I can be reached at info@enviro-views, or we also have a website, enviro-views.com. And yeah, feel free to reach me, send me an email, and any questions you may have, I'll be glad to help. A fellow landscaper.
Annie, you were about to comment?
I was just going to say anniebam.com. That's how you can find out, reach out via website or the Instagram link that's there too.
Cool. How about you, Ryan?
website's a great place to start, maloneslandscape.com. And another great place to connect with me is on LinkedIn. I usually catch everything coming through there too. So
Cool.
love to help.
Cool. Well, thank you, Annie, Ryan, and Armando, for sharing your experience and perspectives today. This has been a hot topic for a lot of landscape contractors, and they're just trying to figure out in real time what to do. And it really helps to hear what you've done. Anyway, thanks for listening to the Landscape Business Growth Lab. If you enjoy this episode, please review us and subscribe so you can join us for future episodes. We'll see you next time.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Landscape Business Growth Lab podcast. I hope you picked up some fresh ideas to help your business grow. Remember, growth doesn't happen overnight. It takes the right tools, strategies, and consistent cultivation. If you found value in today's show, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. Share this episode with a fellow green industry professional who's ready to level up. For more resources, show notes, and exclusive content, visit us at landscapebusinessgrowthlab.com. And if you want to connect directly, you can find me at Everbearing Services. Until next time, I'm Ron McCabe, reminding you to keep your tools sharp and your mindset sharper. Now get out there and grow something great.